Well, good evening everybody. It's, I don't know what time it is, it's about 20 to 7, something like that. I got here a bit earlier, but I've been a bit tied up with family matters. So, it's a bit wet outside and a bit breezy. So I basically just sort of got here, set everything up, and I've had a cup of tea, and this is really the first chance I've had to say a few words to camera. I'll try and show you around a bit in a minute, but this is very comfortable, very, very comfortable. You'll notice that I'm in a different shelter. It's the DUOMID. I've not used this in a long time now. It must be at least, I don't know, 3 or 4 years since I've had the DUOMID out. I don't know if it's quite that long, but it's been a while since I've had the DUOMID out. But I just thought I'd give it a try again, just to remind myself that it's a little bit on the smaller side for me. But it's an interesting comparison to the Acto in a way. It's completely different, of course, but it's probably the closest that I have to the Acto, and I think this section here where I am, there's probably a bit more room in the Acto. I would say definitely more room in the Acto in this section, lengthwise and width-wise. Although here, obviously there's more height here than the Acto. But where the DUOMID scores over the Acto is you have more room out in the vestibule. The vestibule is pretty, it's actually more spacious than I remembered actually. I thought it was a lot smaller than this, but I have to say it's quite spacious, to be honest. Lass has disappeared outside bizarrely. But you know, that's her mat over there, and then there's still plenty of room there, and I've put my pack back there. It's just all higgledy-piggledy at the moment. I've just not really had a chance to sort myself out. It's a bit of a pain, but never mind. So I've got a load of sort of bits of things back here, but it's definitely, you know, because this is the wall here, and you know, it's definitely on the tighter side. I think it's a good shelter. I do like it, but I have to say it's probably the one. This is probably why I don't use it as, you know, as much. You know, I think if you want a bit more room for where you're sleeping, then I think the Trailstar scores over it. Obviously, if you want more room still, then the SuperMid scores over it. Probably the DUOMID XL would probably be a better bet, because then you'd have more room in here, and the same out here. And in fact, I've often wondered whether the DUOMID XL would be a little bit on the smaller side, space-wise, in the vestibule area, but if it's anything like this, actually, it's probably not bad, actually. It's probably enough. So, yeah, it's kind of sort of in between, really, and that's probably why I don't use it quite so much. And if I'm going to be sort of, and it's not that much heavier than a tarp or anything like that, so you've probably got a bit more room in here than some of the tarps. But I kind of sort of think, if I'm bringing a shelter like this with a door and, you know, and a teepee type of thing, I can't help but thinking it's nice to have a bit more room. And that's probably why I tend to bring the you know, the tarps a bit more sometimes, because you kind of expect to be cramped up in a tarp. I don't know if that makes any logical sense or not. So that's kind of, sort of, partly my way of thinking things here. But other than the fact that it is a little bit on the, you know, smaller side, and it's really not that small, to be honest. It's you know, it's still very comfortable. I've still got you know, I've still got enough room to do what I want to do, you know, and I can sit up in here, hold the camera right out in front of me. It's just obviously I'm very, very close, you know, to the wall here. But maybe I could have, I think that actually this pole is angled a little bit here. I did bring my DUOMID pole, which is this one back here. I was just curious as to whether it would be short enough to use in here, but it's not really. It's a bit too long. So I've gone back to my carbon fibre pacer pole with a carbon fibre pacer pole middle section to hold it up. So that's how I'm supporting it. But it's yeah, it's still a nice shelter. It is still a nice shelter, and if you want a shelter with a door that's not too big, then it's as good as anything else out there. I do think. Obviously, the reason why I brought the internet with me is the only ground sheet that I have that fits in here is a single ground sheet, and it's quite narrow, and I'm almost always afraid I'm gonna roll off it, or you know, have a bit of my foot's gonna go over to the left or to the right a bit. So I'm just it's a bit too narrow, to be honest. So that's why I brought this, just to, it doesn't really add that much extra weight, and it's just to make sure that I don't sort of fall out, because everything's just a bit smaller. But if the ground sheet could have been, you know, a little bit bigger, but again, there's not that much space to play with back here, ground sheet wise either. But if I had a slightly bigger ground sheet, then I wouldn't have brought this. It just isn't needed. I won't do the door up. I'll leave it open. But it is just simply it's just more convenient for me that I'm not constantly all night thinking that my feet are gonna, you know, roll off the floor. So that's my sort of introduction, as it were. Don't forget to they always put this at the beginning of videos, don't they? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell thing to look out for more amazing videos of me. We're back on Dartmoor, of course, and in fact we're back at the place where I have been camping quite a lot recently, so I didn't get going until lunchtime, and I didn't get here until it was about 4 o'clock, I think. So no, sorry, I got into the car park just after 3, and then by the time I got going, and I got here at about 4:30 or something. Anyway, I don't know, can't remember now. Doesn't matter. So yeah, this is very nice, but still, it's still very, very nice and comfortable. It doesn't really matter what shelter you bring, as long as you've got just about enough room to lie down, relax. That's all you need. I popped into McDonald's on the way, and just had a quick burger, you know, on the way here, and that was quite nice. Only some of my friends will pick up what I just said deliberately. Okay, I think I need to carry on and do a couple of other things, and make a cup of tea. Have another cup of tea. Alright, I'm going to talk again some more in a minute. One question that springs to mind from when I was sort of indirectly comparing this to the Acto, is what do I prefer between this and the Acto? Probably still this. It's very close. It is close, because I think the Acto has a few benefits for, you know, for a tent. As I say, you do have a little bit more room inside this section where I am in the Acto. But frankly, you're not doing a huge amount in here anyway, so it doesn't. So that doesn't really matter. I think the overall reason why I probably prefer this to the Acto, just generally, is that it's lighter, and I think there is more space generally around you. Certainly the vestibule area is much bigger. It's much easier. It really is. It's actually, there's a lot, like I said a minute ago, there's a lot more room in the vestibule area than I remember. I thought it was really quite small and pokey, but it's surprisingly, it's bizarre. It's been a while. Maybe because Bess was a bit bigger and I used it with Bess a few times, or I don't know. But I must admit, it's a lot more spacious than I was thinking. And the vestibule in the Acto, that is tight. And it is nice to have a bit of space in the vestibule because you can cook, especially if you've got a dog. The dog's still over there, out the way. The dog's not all over me. I don't want. I love Lassie, but I don't want the dog all over me. So, you know, dog's kind of like over there, not literally out the way, but dog's kind of like over there. You know, I've got a load of stuff here. You know. What I have done, and I've done it a few times with the other shelters as well, I've put this bit of foam just outside the door, so it kind of sort of acts as a little bit of a little bit more room for doing things. So I have to say, this little bit of foam is very useful, and it does give a bit more room. So yes, there is less room in this area, but there's enough room, but there's plenty of room for me to do what I need to do, and that's basically lie here. No, not have a wank. Lie here and just do what you need to do. So, and that's it really. You know, you don't really need a ton of space, and I can put my clothes and stuff at the end. So on balance, I would still say that this is preferable for me to the Acto. But as I say, I still prefer the DUOMID. Maybe I ought to bring the Trail Star back out again just to remind myself what that's like, because I don't think I've slept in the Trail Star for, it's been a while now. That's probably been like a year or more, because all last year I was using the Taps, and then I went over to the DUOMID mostly over winter. So I've not used the Trail Star for a while. So it is kind of interesting to switch around and everything. It's still raining outside, so I'm not going outside to do any filming, and frankly, even if it stopped raining, I'm not sure I would be bothered to go outside. I'm very comfortable in here, so I'll try and film outside you know, tomorrow when I get a chance. So I think it's time to have my second cup of tea now, which is just over there, and Lassie, just dopey dog, wants to be outside. Alright, time to have tea, and I think I might put a film on in a minute. Well, good morning everybody. It's about 20 to 10. So I think I woke up about 8:30, something like that. I've had oh, still stretching. I've had 2 teas. I think my eyes are slightly less puffy than they were earlier, but not much. Boy, did I sleep well last night again. I watched a film, Kill Bill, and was sort of kind of interested to see that in there they had a Rolex for one of the scenes, and it was only when I was sharing it with some friends on Swiss Watch Connection and Rolex Collectors World that I realised that it's a fake watch. So for some reason Tarantino in Kill Bill uses a fake Rolex. So anyway, I've had a couple of cups of tea. It's just coming up to 9:45, and I'm very comfortable here. It's a little bit on the tight side. It's a little bit tighter than I remembered here. You've got this wall right here. There's not a huge amount of room in here, but it's I have to say it was very comfortable, and I did sleep very, very well. And nobody in these tents is expecting to have, you know, tons and tons of room, to be honest. I think I'm just so used now to the SuperMid where I can quite literally just put my arm out full stretch behind me in the SuperMid, and here I can't even get it to the 90-degree position. So yeah, it just reinforces my love of the SuperMid. But as I said before, I like to use different things sometimes, and it's interesting to show the view because not everybody wants a SuperMid. You know, it is big, the SuperMid that is, as well. So you know, sometimes people want something a bit smaller, and you know, this is still nice. As I say, it's a bit pokey compared to the SuperMid. Compare everything to the SuperMid. It's like comparing a little Cessna to a jumbo jet or something. But yeah, I had a very, 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 very good night's sleep. Oh gosh, I think I sort of put my head down about midnight. It was quite late last night. I think I put my head down. I was watching the film, so I put my head down about midnight, and it was about, as I said, about 8:30 or something like that when I woke up. But maybe I woke up once during the night, I'm not sure. But boy, did I sleep well last night. Oh, needed that sleep again. I should try and come out here more often and get some more sleep. Right, okay, I think yes, I made water, boiled water, and time to now have another cup of tea, which actually is over my second or third, I'm not quite sure now. Second, I think. I've lost count. Well, the mist has just rolled in. Just 2 minutes ago, or a minute ago, you could see the hill just over there. You can maybe just make it out, but maybe not. I'd say the mist has completely obliterated it. You can just about now, on the horizon or just above the grass, just about make out the ridge line or the bottom of the hill. I slept all night with the door closed because it was quite blustery and windy. Whilst I like having the door open, these shelters, they can get a bit sort of a bit shaky if they're not done up. And to be honest, if it's very windy, I wouldn't want them shaking around too much with bits loose in case they put undue stress on something. So when it's windy, I tend to do these up. If it hadn't been windy, I might maybe have left the door open, but again, it's not a supermid. The supermid, you can leave the door open and the rain's like kind of like over there, but the top, of course, is everything's a bit nearer you here. So I think with this one, you kind of tend to need to do the door up if it's raining more. It's resting the camera on Lass's pouch, so hopefully you can see I've got my breakfast on. As it is coming up to, it's just gone 10, I just thought, well, I've got my breakfast going, so in other words, I've got water on the boil for some Quaker oats. Always got to have your oats. I just thought I'd put a few things away. So in this stuff sack here, I put my fleece in. I put my fleece on last night for the evening when I was watching a film, and then I took my fleece off during the night. So during the night I just wore my shirt and t-shirt, and that was enough. So I say, while I'm doing breakfast, the water is on, I'll just start, not really packing away as such. This is more sort of a tidying up of a bit of a pigsty here. It's surprising. It looks worse than it is, to be honest. It does look a right mess, but by the time you've put a few things into a stuff sack, it's surprising how it tidies itself up very quickly. So that's that in there. That's my... thank you, Simon, for the comment on my digging my hat. It's a rab hat, and it fits very well. Probably in the picture I probably had it raised up a little bit, the hat. So this is my rab hat. I have some things that I only use for camping. I don't know if other people are the same. Obviously, you know, the sleeping bag and tents and taps, obviously they're only for camping. Obviously that goes without saying. But these Innovate shoes here, these are the 235. I say Innovate don't make these anymore, so I only use these now for camping, to try and make them last as long as possible, because I was wearing them last night, and of course they were featured in my favourite items, my favourite luxury item video last month. And to be honest, you know, I've been wearing other shoes as well. I'm hoping you can kind of see me there. And you know, I've been wearing other shoes sometimes, and I kind of sort of forgotten how comfortable those Innovate are, the 235 and 245s, and it really is a shame that Innovate don't make them anymore. So that's something that I only wear when I'm camping. My wind shirt I wear at home sometimes, because that I can get another one of those like really easily if I have to. My merino t-shirts, I try to only wear them for either like if I go to Cheddar once a week, or you know, coming around here. But my t-shirts are from this company here, Chalkfish Merino, and they got all their stuff from New Zealand, and they don't operate anymore. I think they stopped after, I think they did it for a few years, and then they stopped. But it's a real shame, because it's really It's just absolutely gorgeous merino t-shirts and things. So again, that's something else I tend to wear limitedly, if that's a new word or not. I try not to wear that out and about so much. So yeah, so anyway, there's a bit of boring rabbiting going on there. So what I'll do is I'll carry on putting a few more things into a pack and have my breakfast. It's just coming onto the boil now. One thing which is nice with this shelter, even if I am limited, honestly I'd forgotten how small it is in here. But even if I am somewhat limited here, at least I can sit up fully, and to me, being able to, even if shoulder room is limited, you know, being able to sort of sit up like this, and you can't do that in a tent, you know, being able to sit like this is just so much of a bonus when you're packing and moving around and everything. So I still say, on balance, that I still prefer this to the Acto, even though the Acto probably does have more room in here shoulder width wise. I still think on balance I prefer this. Okay, well it's it's late morning and I'm still here. It's just gone 11. I've put about one more thing away. I'm going to have to start packing up in a minute. I'm just going to make one more tea, just to prove that hill is kind of there. You can see it through the mist now. We had a few drops of rain a minute ago, but they didn't come to anything. I think Lass is still off somewhere, sleeping in the grass somewhere or other. My plan, like last night, if it hadn't have been pissing with rain and blowing a gale, was to do a pitching, you know, sort of pitch this as a pitching thing, introduction to the video. So because of the weather I didn't get to do that, so I'll maybe bring the DUOMID again next time or sometime soon. I might have something else for another time, but I'll bring the DUOMID again sometime in the near future if I know the weather's going to be good when I get here, and I'll try and do a pitching video for it, because that was partly my plan yesterday, but that didn't work out. Sometimes people ask me whether I get sort of, you know, lonely or something like that here by myself. Not really. No, it's quite relaxing actually, to be honest. You're not sort of thinking about whether someone else is ready to get going, or you know what someone else is doing. So not really. No, it's quite comfortable by myself. Anyway, I need to get packing, otherwise the other half will wonder where I am. Well, good morning. The second time we're up this time, so this is the first time since I've got here that I've actually been sort of outside of the shelter, apart from literally when I set it up. I set it up, got the bag inside, got the water, went inside last night and just stayed in until, you know, like 10 minutes ago. So I just thought I'd just show you just around. Like I said, it's the same place where I was with the DUOMID over winter. It's a short walk back to the car. You could get back in about 45 minutes in that direction, but what I'm probably going to do is I'll just walk up, just give Lassie a bit of a walk up that hill. Quite literally adds like 20 minutes on, not much, but at least it's about an hour walk then back to the car. So I'll just sort of briefly show you here. Like I said, I might have something else to bring in May, but I'll try and get the DUOMID out again sometime in the next few months, if the weather's nice, and I'll try and do like a pitching video with it. I used to sort of do pitching videos at Cheddar. I just don't have the time so much now. But I've just undone 2 of the pegs for the inner net. Other than that, this is set up pretty much how it was last night. The only slight alteration I've made is I loosened this peg off on this side here and the one at the back, and just tightened over there just to get a bit more of an angle, straight angle there. So I do find the inner net is actually shorter than, a little bit shorter. So on this occasion, I don't know if you can see, but I have pegged it out directly to the top, but sometimes I use this bit of cord here, which I probably should have done last night. I ended up sort of altering the height, and I was kind of trying to I was in a bit of a hurry last night for various reasons, so it probably would have been better to have pitched the DUOMID just at a fraction higher and used that bit of cord. So I'll maybe try that next time. It doesn't really change anything, because the amount of space that you have inside the inner net, that can't change. But the inner net was a distance away on this side, which is good, but on the back here where I am, where my head is anyway, I was brushing the back of the Cuban fibre a bit. So I think if I pitch it a couple of inches or an inch or 2 higher, use that bit of cord, then I suspect I would have more space between the inner net and the actual DUOMID itself. Like I said, it won't increase space inside, but and you really don't need the second pole. I brought this pole quite literally just on the off chance that it would be short enough to use, because obviously I can use it in the SuperMid, but really it's a little bit too long at that setting. You could use it, but you'd need a shorter pole. Not very often you can say your pole's too long. So in this instance, using your walking poles in this is probably the best option. But so this is just a quick run around on the outside of the DUOMID. It is a nice shelter. Like I said, I think I'm just spoilt with the with the SuperMid and things like that, really. And like I said, I like playing with the tarps in the summer. But if you're looking for a lightweight shelter, and it's just you, and indeed even a dog, to be honest, there's plenty of room. And as I say, I just use the inner net simply because the ground sheet that I have for this is very narrow. And of course, very soon, we're in May, certainly into June, we're coming to bug season. And of course, when you get bugs around, then you need an inner. It's just bizarre, really, because for me, I don't really like having an inner. Of course, in the winter, I don't use an inner at all. It's just not needed down here. Maybe if there's snow around and that type of thing, you might need an inner. But for what I do, I don't need an inner in the winter. I don't need that cover. But of course, when it comes to summer, you kind of need one because of the bugs a bit more flying around. So it's kind of sort of, can we say it's a bit Irish? I don't know. But it's kind of the opposite way around, really. So anyway, I'm going to do a bit more packing up here, and then we'll see how things progress. I might actually just try this pole once more while I've got it here, just to see on its shortest setting whether it will work or not. Now I've got a couple of minutes spare and it's not raining. Okay, just a quick playing around. So this is the DUOMID pole, and if you pitch the back, you know, quite close to the ground, then the front is very, very high, so you can't really pitch, you can't really use the DUOMID pole. It's a bit too long. And yeah, again, if you raise the back, sort of make the back a bit higher, which obviously then lets, you know, potentially extra wind through that we don't need. Let's see. You can obviously pitch the front a bit lower, but it's still too high. And just to show you with that pole setting, it's the internet, as I say, it's on the highest setting here, and this pole is even angled, so very, very clearly unless you have a pole that you can make significantly shorter for the DUOMID, you can't use the same pole in one or the other. Okay, and this is why I knew there was quite a bit of difference, but as you can see, that's the setting that I had the DUOMID set at overnight on the pacer pole. It may have dropped a tiny bit, and that's the, you know, the height of the DUOMID pole on its minimum setting, this Ruta La Cura pole. I actually do think that I could do with, and I will try it now, just making the DUOMID pole a fraction longer, and just to see, you know, what it looks like. Okay, so I've raised the pacer pole about 1 inch, and that's probably about the optimum height on there. So that's taken away a little bit of the curve on this one here. There's still a little bit of a curve there, but not so much. The back is still quite close to the ground, but not right on the ground, so you're still going to get some breeze through. That's why I say I just don't think you would want it any higher if it was really windy. And then that side is close to the ground, and then the front is raised slightly, but not a huge amount. And if the wind's coming in this direction, then it's fine if the front is raised up a bit. So like I said, I'll bring it out again, the DUOMID, sometime in the near future, and I'll do a pitching video one evening. But that looks a slightly better pitch than what I had overnight. As I said, that's actually a little bit taller than the setting I had it on overnight. So if anyone is using a pacer pole setup with a pacer pole middle section, which you can usually get from pacer pole themselves, just give Heather a ring, and they're usually very obliging in sending out a handle section without the handle, and that acts as a very good middle section. So here, for pacer pole users, I've got pacer pole 9, 8 pacer pole. So I hope that's in focus. And then I put bungs on, I keep the bungs on. Because otherwise, if you don't have the bung, if you don't have the bung, two things happen. One, the pacer pole just sinks into the ground, so you effectively lose a couple of inches, and we don't want to be losing any inches. But also, if you need to adjust it during the night or something like that for whatever reason, something slipped or anything like that, then of course you know the point is in the ground, and it's not so easy to adjust things or move things around a bit than if you've just got a rubber bung to move around on top of the grass. So I always find the bung is useful. You've got to have at least one bung, because you need one bung on the top so the pole doesn't go through the top of your tent. Okay, so like I said, sometime in the next few months, we are coming into tarp season now really, but sometime in the next few months I'll bring this out again. I actually did enjoy using it, to be honest. I must admit I did enjoy the experience of using it. I know someone did ask if I could do a Namage 3 GT setup video. When I'm feeling really strong, I might bring that out again just to show. And of course at some point later this year I've got to bring out the Acto again just to prove that I can use a tent and to once again show why I prefer these things. Okay, well, I better do a bit more packing up. Okay, well that's nearly the end of the walk. About 2:10. It's just another 5 or 10 minutes to the car. Not far now. I'll have a cup of tea. I'll have another cup of tea at the car, and then head home. And depending on traffic, 2.5–3 hours home. I'll probably stop and have another McDonald's on the way back. And see you all again in a couple of months. And then I'll see you all again sometime in May. Should be able to get out this way again in May. Doing quite well on my once a month camp. Right in the middle of the month this time. Usually I've been thinking, right, I got to get going, got to get camping, must go in the month, and it's usually at the last couple of days of the month or something. So this time we've got out in the middle of the month. So let's see when we get out in May. But yeah, we will see you all again come what may. Thanks for watching and subscribing. Share with all your friends. Let's try and get a few more subscribers. And I'll see you again next month. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.